Yo, what's good, YouTube? This is Jay from TNJ, and make sure you hit that like button. I'm coming with a top 5 video, and this one is the 5 most random weird things that you see in franchise this year. Now, this is interesting because, I do play a lot of franchise. I see a lot of weird things, so I kind of just broke it down into 5, and there's plenty more, but without further ado, let's just get into the countdown. So let's start out with number 1, and this is an interesting one. The Browns are always good, no matter who they have. Even on Madden 19, I know they have a talented roster right now, but even on Madden 19, when I play with my Redskins franchise, the Browns had the number 1 seed every single time. Now, what I did here is I just took the base rosters as of December, the latest rosters, and I simmed a season, and the Browns went 13-3, and they have the number 1 overall record in the NFL. And it's just funny because every single year, even in my Lions franchise, they're good. In Madden 19, every single year they were good. And I believe in Madden 19, they pretty much finished with the best record. I believe 4 of the 5 seasons I was even in that franchise, 3 of the 4 actually. So let's look at their stats really quick on the first season sim. So Baker Mayfield goes 36-8, almost 4,000 yards. Kareem Hunt is actually leading their backfield, 1,400 yards, 13 touchdowns, and Nick Chubb has 10. I mean, that is just the domination that they have. And surprisingly, look at this. Odell Beckham doesn't even lead their team in yards or touchdowns. It's Jarvis Landry. So I don't even know if it's a talent thing at this point. And even looking at their defense, let's just look to see how their defense did. Joe Schobert led their team in tackles, it looks like. And let's see who led their team in sacks. Only Bruce Irvin with 5.5. That's the thing. It's like they're not really dominating on defense. Schobert had 5 interceptions, so that's pretty good. Mac Wilson had 4. Mitchell had 4. So, I mean, they had a good, at least season defensively in the secondary as far as defending the pass. But rushing the passer, they didn't really do anything. I don't know. All right, so now we move on to season 2, and this is in 2020. We advanced past last year. Browns had the number 1 overall seed. Let's just see how they did now in the second year. So now in 2020, there they are again, 12-3-1 this time, and it looks like they ended the season losing 2 straight. So they could have possibly even lost 1 or maybe even 2 games this year now. And it's just funny just seeing them dominate every single year. And like I said, this happened a lot in Madden 19 as well. And let's just see what Baker Mayfield and that offense did once again. He threw for 3,700 yards, 35 touchdowns, 8 interceptions, pretty much the same year last year. Nick Chubb this time runs for 1,000 yards. And now they have Derrick Henry, 11 touchdowns for him, 10 touchdowns for Chubb, and Odell Beckham had 9 touchdowns, didn't get 1,000 yards for the second straight season, and Jarvis Landry is down here for touchdowns. So it's just kind of weird. The Browns always do so well, even when they have different rosters, when they switch up different guys on the roster, and it looks like they have pretty much a lot of the same guys, but not much different in the result. They always get that number 1 seed, and the CPU just knows how to dominate with them, I guess. So number 2, and this is a funny one. All quarterbacks have good touchdown to interception ratios every single season. So we're going to build off of what we just had last for number 1. We're in season 2 of this franchise that I have simmed. I'm controlling the Broncos, but not really doing anything. But let's just look at the touchdown to turnover ratio and just look at Kyle Allen. What the heck? 42 touchdowns, 10 interceptions for Kyle Allen. How good is he now? He's 77 overall, it looks like, and playing for the Saints. So the guy takes over for Drew Brees. But look at everybody else. I mean, there is nobody that has a bad interception to touchdown ratio. I mean, nobody. I'm going through all the starting quarterbacks right now, and nobody has at least close to interceptions to their touchdowns. Maybe Joe Flacco's the closest right here, 20 touchdowns to 12 interceptions. But look at that. I mean, everybody has a good ratio, and it makes no sense. So let's even look at the worst 4 teams: the Jets, Dolphins, Buccaneers, and Broncos. So they probably have some bad quarterbacks, you would think. But let's just look at the Dolphins, for example, and the Buccaneers. Since the Buccaneers are closer, let's look at the Buccaneers. So Jameis Winston had 28-6. That's insane. I mean, if this happened in real life, if Jameis had 28-6, this would be a playoff team. Let's just be honest. This would be a playoff team. And the Dolphins, one of the worst teams in the league. They have Josh Rosen, who doesn't have a great touchdown to interception ratio, but still passed for 3,500 yards, 18 touchdowns, 7 interceptions. I mean, that's not terrible. They're one of the worst teams in the league. And then Joe Flacco, 20-12, and that's exactly what you would think Joe Flacco would be in real life. Maybe more interceptions probably, but still. I mean, you can just see, like, nobody ever has a bad season throwing the ball, really, and it's something really random and something that maybe Madden should look at fixing, and maybe just having bad quarterbacks. Maybe that's why CPU teams are just so bad at building their rosters. They think that they have good quarterbacks because they have good ratios every year. All right, let's move on to number 3, and this is a weird one. And this is just how teams build in franchise mode in Madden, and it has to do with drafting quarterbacks. So teams draft superstar quarterbacks when they already have young quarterbacks. Now, the perfect example, I have 2 in my Lions franchise, and right now I am in season 6, so a lot of the older quarterbacks have kind of left. But let's just look at the Redskins here. So they have Dwayne Haskins. Now, Dwayne Haskins is their star quarterback. He is now in technically his 6th year. And just looking at what his contract looks like, so he did end up winning a Super Bowl in season 4. And just looking at his contract after that season, he signed a 5-year deal over about, I don't even know how much money that is, over $120 million or something like that. So then what they did going into that season, they drafted Jake Fromm, number 1 overall. They had the worst record in the NFL, and then the next year they ended up winning the Super Bowl. But then they drafted Jake Fromm, and this guy was number 1. He is actually one of the better quarterbacks in the league. But this whole time, you saw Dwayne Haskins is in his 5th year at this point. And look at this. Jake Fromm has 4 straight seasons of no stats after being the number 1 overall pick. It's just questionable. Like, why are these CPU teams drafting these quarterbacks at the top? Even if they're projected to go at the top, these teams should not be drafting quarterbacks when they have a quarterback on the roster. I saw it a lot in Madden 19 because the Bears, you know, they have Trubisky, and think about it, last year, Trubisky was pretty good last year. He was in that Nagy system doing really well. And in Madden, the Bears still drafted a young quarterback. It made 0 sense. And another example here, which he's not on the team anymore, but the Buccaneers had Jameis Winston on their roster before this season. Remember, I'm in season 6 now. And just looking at him, he was the starter. This is his first year starting with the Bengals now. But before that, he's been the starter his whole career with the Buccaneers. Now, why do I bring that up? Well, it's because in season 3 of my franchise, I tried to trade for quarterback D. Bird. He was the number 1 overall pick in season 1. He had to sit behind Jameis Winston for 4 years after being the number 1 pick. Just like Jake Fromm, I just pointed that out. Look at this. I mean, he has 4 straight years of literally nothing. And that's really, really weird. I hope that Madden does patch that. The developers at EA do patch that, because there's no reason why a quarterback of this caliber, I could not even trade for him. They literally had him as the backup for 4 straight years, and I tried to trade for him, and they wouldn't even do that. And it's kind of incredible because this guy is a superstar X Factor and literally has had 4 years of his career wasted, and he really could probably be a 90 overall by now. I mean, there's probably no doubt in my mind, but instead they kind of just wasted him and drafted him instead. So number 4, and this is an interesting one as far as team building too. Teams never re-sign their young running backs, and they always give up on them way too soon. So a big example of this is after season 1, Ezekiel Elliott was in free agency, and nobody went after him. In free agency, he literally went unsigned in the offseason. So he ended up getting signed in the preseason to the Washington Redskins. Now, what's weird about that is that why would the Cowboys not re-sign him? Well, it gets even weirder. They had the number 3 pick that year, and they ended up signing or drafting DeAndre Swift. Now, that is really weird because why would they let go of Zeke and then try to re-sign DeAndre Swift? Some would say to save money, but this isn't the only case this has happened. Now, let's just look at the Minnesota Vikings. I'm looking at my Lions franchise right now. I'm in season 6, but look at them. So they kept Dalvin Cook. That's fine. But then the Patriots let go of Sony Michel. That's weird. The Raiders let go of Josh Jacobs. That's really weird. Why a running back that was selected number 3 overall, I believe, in the draft? Was he selected number 3? I'm not even sure. I don't even remember now. But why would the Raiders let him go? He is a great young running back, 82 overall, still in his prime, 26, and he's a star development. It just makes zero sense. And just looking at like other teams, for example, the Redskins gave up on Darius Geis. He's only 27 and 83 overall star development. Now he's on the Patriots. Why would they ever give up on him? And it just literally makes zero sense on how these teams are built. But even building off of that, what makes it even more funny is that these teams have running backs on the roster that are really bad. Look at KJ Johnson right here. He's 69 overall. Roosevelt Walker is 50 overall. I think these are guys that they are drafting because why would they keep them on the roster? Patriots, 65 overall. Griggs and Davis, 66 and 61. Chapman, 65 for the Rams. Ravens, 68 overall. And it's not even that they're bad, it's just that they're really bad. Tyrell Murphy, 62. And why is this weird? Because if we look in free agency, this happens every single offseason. Running backs just don't get signed. Looking at the free agency, I can find about 5 or 6 running backs that are better than all of those guys I just named. And not even that, they're all 26 and under. How are these guys not on NFL rosters? Bryce Love, Benny Snell, Justice Hill, Travis Billingsley, who was a generated player, and then Alexander Madison. I mean, all these guys should be on rosters, and for some reason, these teams decide to kind of stick with the guys they draft instead of just cutting them. If they're not good enough, just cut them and get a better running back in free agency. It literally makes zero sense. In number 5, so the last one is literally team specific, and for some reason, the Giants are always mediocre to bad, and I have no idea why. And this team right here, we simmed through one full season. So in season 2, they are 7 and 9 at this point. So pretty much a mediocre team. But let's just look at their roster and why they're so bad. And I don't know why. Even in my Lions franchise, they draft pretty well and they're always bad. They even have Andrew Luck at quarterback. He's 93 overall over Daniel Jones, who's only 71. They have a good quarterback. They should be winning games. Barkley, one of the best running backs in the game, he's still there. They have a pretty good receiving core. And looking at them, they're all in either the high 70s or low 80s. That's pretty good. Evan Ingram, 90 overall. Even at left tackle, they drafted a gem of a left tackle. He's star development, 23 years old. Their offense just looks elite. But their defense is lacking a little bit. They have Dexter Lawrence, who's still 23 years old. Then they have Leonard Williams, though. So, I mean, they have 3 good defensive linemen up front with Dalvin Tomlinson as well. But then their linebacker core is just all right. But then their secondary is pretty good. They have Chris Harris Jr., DeAndre Baker. I mean, they should be a good football team. But for some reason, they just don't find ways to win. And this isn't just a season 2 of just a random sim. So now I fast forward a little bit to my Lions franchise, and I'm in season 6 right now, 4 games into the season. You can see the Giants have started out 1-3, another bad start. But the weird thing about this Giants team is they have a really good roster, and they're still losing. They have Saquon Barkley at 27 years old. He's 99 overall. They now have a young quarterback who actually won the MVP at one point in my Lions franchise. He is the number 8, I believe, rated quarterback in the NFL. Look at him. He's pretty good. But somehow they can't win with him or with anybody. Their receiving core leaves a little bit to be desired, but it's pretty decent. I mean, they have a bunch of young guys. They still have Evan Ingram, who is 86 overall. And just looking at their positions, I mean, nobody is really bad on their roster. They even draft really well. Deshaun Boyd is the number 9 left end in the NFL right now at 23. He is in his prime too at 25. Then backing him up, they have Aiden Hutchinson. He's 80 overall, another star dev guy. I mean, they draft really good. They're pretty stout on defense. Look at this. I mean, all these guys are pretty good. Maybe their middle linebacker isn't that great, but they have Telvin Smith as well. And then at cornerback, they have DeAndre Baker and Devontae Cruz. I mean, this is a good team, but they just never end up winning anything. And I don't know what it is about the Giants, but I mean, this roster is good. They have one of the better rosters in the game right now in season 6, but they just can't get right and can never win. So that is going to do it here for the top 5 most random things that I see in franchise. And there's a lot more, to be honest, but I picked out 5. Let me know what you guys think below. If you like what you saw, make sure you hit subscribe and hit that like button. And I'm going to be back for more top 5 videos. So stay tuned. Let's get it. Let's go.